Most leaders think they're self-aware, and that's a real problem because self-awareness isn't just knowing your strengths. It's not knowing my DISC profile or my MBTI. It's not just saying, I'm a people person. Real self-awareness is thinking about your thinking. Real self-awareness is watching your reactions, is observing your assumptions, is questioning the emotional patterns that maybe show up in your day-to-day work, noticing the stories that our dear little mind creates, especially under pressure. And this is what they call metacognition. And honestly, really honestly, most leaders never get there. They can spend their entire career reacting instead of reflecting. Studies show that consistently, the vast majority of leaders rate themselves as highly emotionally intelligent. And yet, the research also shows that only a very teeny percentage of people actually are. Let's think about that for a moment. I was at a workshop last week. I was running out west, and there were leaders there who were blown away by the fact that it's something like 85% of leaders that think they're emotionally intelligent, and only about 15% actually are. And so, whilst many leaders think they're empathetic, they're self aware, they're emotionally mature, in actual fact, turn around and look behind them at their team, and often they're creating fear and tension, confusion, even emotional exhaustion. And if we allow our intelligence to run ahead with itself without that reflective space and time, it actually just becomes ego. All leadership without self-observation can become unconscious leadership. And so this is one of the reasons that I'm really drawn to human synergistics, and in particular in their LSI, the self-actualizing style that's right at the top. It's a blue style. It's a constructive style. And it's basically a measure of how well a leader knows himself. The healthiest leaders that I see are not obsessed by dominance or perfection or even approval or control. Rather, they're curious and they're open. They're more reflective. They're growth oriented and often really open to new experiences, to trying new things, to getting that feedback. They can hold attention without just collapsing into defensiveness. They can hear real-time feedback without the need to turn around and have to protect themselves and their identity. And mostly they can pause long enough to think for themselves, why did I react that way? What was it that someone just said that triggered me? And also they think, what energy am I bringing into this room? That is truly advanced leadership. It's consciousness. And this is where I believe what I call steward eldership really begins. Because when you're a steward elder and a leader who understands the greater, bigger picture, you know that the quality of your leadership is directly connected to the level of your own awareness. You can't possibly create a psychologically safe culture with an unsafe little inner world. You can't create trust with people externally whilst constantly avoiding your own truth internally. And you certainly can't regulate a team if you can't regulate yourself. So this is the work. This is the real work. This is why people could be hiring a coach rather than just going, how do I hit my KPIs better? Wouldn't you like a coach that helps you reflect, to think about your thinking and get into this headspace? Because let's face it, most workplaces are filled with leaders and managers who are trying to manage behavior of people. And often they've not really examined the thinking underneath their own behavior, their own judgments, their own beliefs, their own kind of set point for where their equilibrium is. And that's why, as the world moves into even more pressure, pressure begins to reveal everything. It exposes our unconscious patterns. Maybe you're subject to wanting to control everything. Maybe you're a perfectionist. Maybe, like me, and how I used to be was very much a people pleaser. I didn't want to upset the boss or my team. And often when there was conflicting needs, I found that really draining because I was trying to keep everyone happy. Maybe you're defensive. Maybe you've had trauma, and that shows up in all sorts of different patterns and ways in your workplace. As a leader for the future, we need to be leaders who are capable of observing ourselves in real time. We need to be able to pause before reacting. And that's not just, IQ book smarts. It's not just knowing strategy and finance. It's not throwing around some big words. It's being a leader who thinks about their thinking, who uses their metacognition, who is tuned in enough to know what's going on inside in your own nervous system. Because the moment you start to observe yourself, you finally stop being unconscious and uncontrolled. And that starts to change everything. If this resonates with you, I'd love to get to know you more. Subscribe to my channel. I explore leadership and culture and communication and things like metacognition. And I'm into Steward Eldership and creating a different new wave of leaders who want to look at work in a different lens, one that's grounded not just in performance, but in awareness and consciousness, one that's about humanity for the future of work. I'd love to meet you and have a yarn with you. Come say good day sometime.